Hello, humanities. All right, welcome back to class here. Let me see if I can move that for a second. All right, hopefully you guys were all productive and kind of enjoyed the kind of extra long extended weekend that we had there that was unplanned. I also hope that everybody did get caught up and watched all the movie Hotel Rwanda. So far, it seemed like that was still pretty popular in the poll. Most people were saying, yeah, more movies and incorporate more stuff like that into class. Now, anytime I show a movie in class, I always have to tie it into like the curriculum or what we're covering and make it a valuable thing. I don't ever want to show a movie and just have it be like a time killer where I'm just keeping you busy or anything like that. I promise not to do that. I pick things that one, I find interesting, and then two, would tie into the scope of like my vision of humanities, like issues that are affecting people and humans around the world today. Typically, anytime we do a movie, we're going to incorporate in an assignment that would go with it and tie into it. This time, I'm doing an opinion essay. Now, I know some of you are like, oh, I already got all kinds of essays coming in from Spink or Van Riper or Schoonover and got tons of writing and stuff to do. Well, I do promise that this will not ever turn into like essay class. No matter how many movies we end up watching, I generally will alternate the assignments for what we would do for different movies and at different times in the year. However, putting this together as an elective class, I did have to go like propose it to Miss Velasco and Mr. Cook. And part of me getting approved to run a class like this was I had to tie it into the school improvement plan. And a big part of that is it really all kind of revolves around like science, math, and then writing. That's a very big component. So I had agreed to throw in a couple essays and research papers throughout the year. Now you can plan on tentatively, don't 100% hold me to this, but yet generally I do one big writing assignment per marking period. So you'll probably have something else coming up in quarter two. It'll be different from this, might be another opinion essay, or it might end up being a research paper of some sort. But a lot of times for movies, I'll tie in some other project that is totally not writing related and let you get a little bit creative. Now, for this essay, it's not 100% specific to just Hotel Rwanda, but really the bigger issue, I think, like at play there, which there's quite a few big issues tying into tribalism and just like the horrificness of what humans are capable of doing to each other. But what I want to focus on for this essay, following up, is something that is still talked about a lot in the world today. And I hear in the current election, Trump and Biden bickering back and forth, Republicans and Democrats, they can never quite get on the same page for this question, which is, should powerful countries intervene when bad things happen in third world countries? Now, third world countries, some of you may not have heard that term. I used it a few times in the lectures that went with the movie. A third world country is like a smaller, poorer country that doesn't have the same standard of living as America or the same kind of military capacity. Rwanda would definitely qualify as a third world country back 30 years ago when this happened and still today. It's quite small, about the size of like South Carolina, pretty small population in a very poor country. So the question, should countries like America, or in the case of Hotel Rwanda, it was really like Germany, France, and Belgium, those powerful, like bigger European countries, should they have come in and intervened and stopped the slaughter, stopped that genocide? We definitely could have done more there. On the other hand, it's like we'd be risking American lives, or in that case, European lives. So I think it's a tough question. I don't know. I've been back and forth on this throughout my life on how I would probably answer it and go about this. So we're really clear, there is no right or wrong answer. I don't care what your opinion is on it. But what I do care is that I see critical thinking from you. And honestly, I know there's a couple of you that are watching this right now that are like, honestly, I don't care if America intervenes or not. For the case of this assignment, you're going to pick a side and then you're going to argue it. So there is no sitting on the fence saying like, we should do it this way and not that way and back and forth and back and forth. Pick a stance, go with it, argue it hard. If you do that, no matter which stance you take, whether you're in favor of intervention or you're opposed to it, either way, you can definitely get 100% on the assignment. I'll get into my views on it after the essays are turned in, because I don't want to influence anybody right now with what my opinion and my bias is. Okay, the breakdown. And this will be attached, the slideshow I'm using, so you can go back and reference this as much as needed. So basic guidelines. The length should be 12 point. I screwed that up. I'm seeing my typo. I'll fix it on the slides I attached. But it should be 12-point font, and I want you to use Times New Roman with standard margins. So when you go in and open a Google Doc, I've been around the block, and I've turned in a lot of different papers through high school and my college career, and I'm the master at messing with the font a little bit, shrinking the margins in some, doing 2.5 line spacing rather than 2, and doing everything little thing I can to like eke out some extra space. Look, I'm on to all that. So open up the Google Doc and you use it basically as is. I'm not sure what font is like the default. I prefer Times New Roman, but as long as you're using a font that's like easy for me to read and not something that's really bizarre or weird or cursive-y typewriting, I'm good with it. The essays should be double spaced. Please do that for me. For one, it gives you, more length to it, because like one full page type single space, you double space it, and now you got 2 pages. So it does help you out on the length component, and it makes it easier for me to read it. All essays, so after the 12-point font and you followed the first 2 points and have them double spaced, should be 1 to 2 pages in length. If you're under 1 page, you're cutting it short, man, and I am going to take points off. And I think, honestly, a question like this, the way I'm going to have you format it, it's kind of hard to answer it in less than a page. I mean, people always find a way to do it, but I'm looking to see your thoughts, see your critical thinking on this. So you got to give me a little bit more than 5 lines or something on a Google Doc. Also, on the other hand of that, on the other side of it, I don't want to be reading 20-page essays. I always have a few kids that are go-getters and really into like whatever topic we're covering. They're passionate about this and they've thought about it and they want to like just pour their heart and soul into it. That's great. I do want you to do all that, but I want you to also be concise. I'm not looking to just, with how much grading and how many emails I have to check anyway and getting my videos made every day and posting stuff, honestly, I just don't have time to be reading 20-page essays. So I'm looking for 1 to 2 pages in length, double spaced. That everybody's capable of that. No cover page. I know a lot of times people, they'll do a bunch of their name and their hour and the date and their grandma's maiden name and blah, blah, blah. They throw all this stuff up on the cover page and then your whole first page is ate up. For this, the way we're doing everything remotely, I know who's sending it to me. I can see your name right on the Google Doc where you send it to me. Or like if you're having issues with that, you can email it to me if you need to, or if you want me to proofread it or anything. I know who's giving it to me. So I don't even need your name on it at all. I don't need the date. I don't need humanities, none of that stuff, no cover page. When I open it up, I just want to see your essay. That's what I'm looking for. So any questions on that, give me a holler and I'll walk you through it. The due date, I was wrestling with this a little bit. On the one hand, I want to give you enough time for you to do a quality job. I also know this is an elective class. You have other classes that are more important on your schedule. I'm not trying to overwhelm you, but again, I want to tie it into like the school improvement plan and actually have this class, be somewhat rigorous and have a purpose there. So I went with Tuesday. So next week, Tuesday by midnight, and it would be October 6th. So you get it submitted before that time, you'll get full credit. You end up turning it after that time and you don't have an excused absence. No matter how good the essay is, it's going to get dropped points for it. And really, I keep dropping more points the longer out it is. So time management, like Spink says, right? Time management. You can get this done before next Tuesday. Put in a little effort. You have almost a whole week for it. And I'm giving you the weekend. So very capable of doing that. And then, of course, if anything does come up, if you have some family emergency or whatever, I'm a reasonable guy. But I'm not too sympathetic to you just turning it in days or weeks late and never, ever communicating with me. If something really big in your life does come up and you can't meet that deadline, you need to talk to me ahead of time if you want to have a chance at not losing those late points. Next up, final thing for this slide. Again, I said this on the first page, but there is no right or wrong answer to this. I have my opinions on it. My opinions on this have actually changed throughout my life and kind of bounced back and forth. I don't think you should ever be locked into any opinion really for your whole life. In politics, they call it flip-flopping. Well, honestly, I want people to do a little flip-flopping if there's evidence and, a reason for them to do it. Opinions should be fluid. So for this one, honestly, whatever you really truly think about it, that's even not that important. What I'm looking for you to do is take a stance on something and then put together a good, convincing, persuasive argument. So I want to see the most important things for this writing assignment or any writing assignment I have you do is what I underline there and put in bold. I want to see that you're thinking critically. Let me see what you are thinking, that you're putting some thought into it, and then have some effort. It's usually pretty easy to tell when somebody just totally blows off an assignment and does it 5 minutes before the due date and, it ends up looking like crap and it doesn't read that good. And, if you put some effort into this, hit the link, do some research, have your opinions, have it backed up with some evidence and fact. And this is not a requirement, but I would strongly recommend that you have somebody proofread it. Do a rough draft, have another set of eyes, look it over, critique you a little bit. It's always, all your work is so much better, any writing work, after it has been proofread by somebody. If you don't have anybody to proofread it, shoot it to me. Just email it to me. That way I'll see it the soonest and get back to you much quicker. Just put on there rough draft opinion essay and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. You can share it with me. I'll look it over and I'll give you feedback as soon as I possibly can. All right. There we go. Okay, so the essay layout, this is pretty important. You're probably going to want to reference back to this page. And like I said, I am attaching my Google Slides presentation, so you won't have my face on there distracting you, and you can go back and look at this a little bit more closely. If you have questions over anything with the format, for goodness sake, before you get too deep into it, ask me. Especially if you check email, I usually get responses back on those pretty darn quick, especially if you're hitting me during the school day, before I'm on family time late in the evening. So the essay layout, and you all should be fairly familiar with this. This is kind of the Taluki version of it, but this is pretty similar to essays that I know you've all written in our English classes here, because I've talked to Mr. Spink Van Riper Schoonover all about this, and I know this is kind of on par with what they have you do occasionally too. So introduction paragraph, how I want you to start it is begin with an attention getter. I think the best persuasive essays and a lot of the research papers start with something that is a good attention getter. That I hope you already know what that is and have had an English teacher explain it to you. If you need more detail on that, hit me up. I'll get back with you, or go Google it. You could find a lot of good information on attention getters. This is what you want to use to hook everybody on the assignment or on your argument, on your paper. So a relevant statistic, a shocking fact, a really intense story. I know if I was going to do this, I think what I would do is go and do a little bit of research on the Rwandan genocide or some other event similar to it, but I'd probably actually pick Rwanda for this. And in the movie Hotel Rwanda, you don't see a whole lot of the chopping and stuff. You're seeing everything from inside the Mykoline resort, where they were kind of safe through, most of the whole, genocide playing out. I would go look up a few stories on things that happen outside there, out on the streets, where people are getting hacked apart and butchered, and there are neighbors killing neighbors. I'm telling you what, you don't have to look very far for some really shocking, messed up stories on the Rwandan genocide. Go Google it. Man, there's some crazy stuff there. It's quite grisly. So some of you might have weak stomachs and not want to do that. Well, you can go a different direction. But I know that's what I would do, is look up some other story like that and try to hook everybody into, or hook my teacher in this case, to the whole story going on. I'm also in my notes on this assignment. In case you're not that good at research, I'm including a free podcast where I'll just give you the information on how to find it, where an awesome guy, he's a former Navy SEAL. His name is Jocko Willink. He has a military podcast where he goes through and talks about different battles and wars and stuff. He did an episode on the Rwandan genocide. Nothing on the whole episode talks about Paul Rusesabagina or the Mykoline resort. He's just talking about why it happened and giving stories from it. Man, you could listen to 20 minutes of that and have more stories than you ever needed for an attention getter. Okay, so the introduction, attention getter first. Then I want you to give your thesis. Essentially, that's where you explain what you believe and you very concisely sum it up. I want that thesis statement. Probably you could do it in one really good, thorough sentence, but if you need to use 2 or 3, that'll work too. So you give me your stance in that opening paragraph. I don't want to be halfway through the essay and being like, well, I don't know what they're arguing. Are they in favor of intervention or against it? I want to know right off the get-go. Attention getter, bam, and then your thesis. What do you believe? What stance are you taking? And very concisely, briefly, in just a sentence or two, kind of sum up why you believe that way. Next up is your body paragraph or paragraphs, how I put it there, because you kind of have some option and play here. Now, most of the time, kids, when I do an essay, students are like, they want to know what the bare minimum is, and they're going to write as little as they possibly can. All right, you know what I mean? I have those requirements. It only has to be one body paragraph. And honestly, if you do a really good job at it, you probably only need one for an essay like this. I think, I know I would, if I was doing this essay myself, even back like high school me, it would definitely be over a page. I would be a page and a half to 2 pages, but I almost think I might do like the 3 paragraph where I only had one body paragraph in there. Or I might end up doing 2, but as a max, because there is a length requirement, I don't want you having any more than 3 body paragraphs. So that's the most I want you to put in there. So 1 to 3, your option. I also want to see in this body part. Now, I am not requiring that you do a works cited page. I'm not requiring that you use any number of resources. But if you want to get a good grade on this essay, you do need to do some research. You can definitely use examples from Hotel Rwanda. That's cool. We use that in class. I probably would use an example or 2 or bring that up. But you have to have more than that. I want you to look deeper into the Rwandan genocide. Like I said, there is literally books and books, hours and hours of podcasts. There's videos out there. Track down what works for you. And if you really struggle with research, well, check out that podcast that I'm giving you the information to in my notes. It's a pretty good one. I think it'd hold your interest. What else was it on that? Yeah, I think that hits all of it. So let me see that you've done some research. This is kind of the effort part. This is where you tie in some facts and some data and some stats, and you impress me that you actually did more than 5 minutes of research looking into the Rwandan genocide. That's also why I'm giving you some extra time for the assignment. I want it out to Tuesday. I didn't want to make this due in like 1 or 2 days. I want to give you plenty of time, even a weekend mushed in there, to do any of the research that you may need to. Then conclusion. So your final paragraph, this is where I want to see you kind of tie it all together. Whatever you've been talking about in the essay, you're going to kind of sum a little bit of it up. Like, don't just rewrite it all, but put it all kind of mashed together in a more concise version, like a couple sentences. And then I want to see where you're leaving off, where you restate your thesis. And you say, after telling you all of this stuff, I believe, and you restate what you believe in favor of it or against it. I believe this, and then, man, that's where you put your final line in and try to make it as articulate as you can to really win me over, because that's the last thing I'll be seeing for it. All right, last thing for you, and then I'm going to shut up and let you get to work. The grading rubric for it. So how I'm going to break down your grade for this essay. Like I said, this is going to be one of the bigger assignments we do. It'll be the only lengthy writing assignment for quarter 1. We'll have something else coming up in quarter 2 that'd be comparable. But for this one, your classwork or your just regular daily work is 50% of your grade. It's half of your grade. And then this one is going to be worth 30 points total. So it's kind of I don't know, it would be maybe 3 to 6 of our normal daily assignments that we do tied in together, because I'm giving you multiple days to work on it. So I expect something quality from you. So how that 30 points is getting broken down. First 5 points possible is for the quality of your attention getter. That's probably going to be the most important little excerpt of your whole essay. I want a good attention getter. Put some effort into that. 5 points for just how good it is. If it's some really boring, bland stat, blah, 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 that doesn't hook me at all, expect a 0 or a 1 on that. I want to see something good. that's juicy, that hooks you in. Okay, so track something down. Again, if you're struggling with that and don't know what to use, hit me up. Send me an email and I'll help you out with it. Next up, 5 points possible for just overall grammar, paragraph, and sentence structure. Just using proper grammar, using the stuff that you've learned in English class and applying it here. Now, this is not an English class, even though it does tie into our school improvement plan. I'm not going to be as picky as Spink or probably Van Riper is on it. I'm going to be a little bit more lenient there, but I do want you to, like, this is why you get it proofread. Don't let it be sloppy. If it just, you might have some clunky words in there, or if like it really drives me nuts when you have run-on sentences where it just goes on and on and on and on for 6 lines and you never used a period or had any breaks. If you have somebody proofread it, you'll probably be able to iron out those kinks, and I'm definitely happy to help you with that. The next 10 points is for following my format and meeting the length requirements. So length overall between 1 to 2 pages. And then when I'm talking about format, I mean everything from this slide, the essay layout, that you have that 3-paragraph form and you have all of those components met. The last 10 points is just for your overall research, facts presented, and the persuasiveness of your argument. Like basically, this is the critical thinking part of it. Did you do some critical thinking? Did you put in some effort and prepare? Did you actually make a coherent argument that sounds persuasive? Again, I don't care what you argue. I'm not arguing with any of you on it. I don't care if you believe what I believe. It doesn't matter to me in the least, all right, for this class. My thing is I want to see that you are thinking and being reasonable and you're putting together, tying all this stuff together and making a good argument. Okay, probably yapped at you a little bit too long, but I wanted to really thoroughly explain this. If you have any questions after that, first I'd say go reference the slideshow or rewatch any parts of the video you may need to. If you still have any questions, shoot me an email. I'll get back with you as soon as I can. Good luck.